Hello again, it's Bourbon over Baseball here with Bob. I have again my tin cup bourbon that I'm drinking. It's a nice game of MLB Showdown has completed again. Now we have Nick Struna, who is the manager of Sons of Pitches. Now, why Sons of Pitches? I like the name, it's funny. Like, obviously it makes me think of son of a bitch or whatever, but so tell me about it.
So this was one actually I just Googled funny baseball team names just to try and get something, and then I was going to actually put together a logo from that, from the funny names, but it came up with Sons of Pitches. I liked it. I thought it was hysterical. I found a good-looking logo to go with it. So
I like the logo, too. That was good.
I gave it to you just from, on honestly, it was just a Googled image that I found, and I liked it.
A lot of those people do it, too. I mean, I do it with fantasy football, fantasy baseball. I always just Google a player. Where's the funniest name for that player? You know, Rizzo or something like that. I've had Tanaka knock joke, for Tanaka, but yeah, I mean, I think the Sons of Pitches is good. I think everyone in the league actually has pretty good names. I think that it's kind of a fun. Everyone's got good logos and good names and whatever. You just got done with your game against Invader Zimmer today. You split 1-1. It was a very hard-fought game with some great dice rolling, so that was fun to see. And now we're doing our interview afterwards, and we're going to probably break down his team here in a little bit. You are 3-1 right now. You are league leading. Technically, because you also have played more games than most people, but the only other guy is 2-2 that has played. So you are 3-1. Robert is 2-2. Matt is 2-2, and Invader Zimmer is 1-1. So you're the league leader. You are in the AL division along with No Squat Bowls. You're there with Funko Fanatics, T800s, and who's the last team we have in there?
It's a bye, isn't it?
No. It's Millennial Falcons. Millennial Falcons, which is Rory's team. So you're set pretty good right now as a 3-1 team. You have a great team, very defensively built. We'll break that down here in a second, but your number one pitcher is monster points here. We got a 660-point pitcher as Corey Kluber. That was your first pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So tell me about him.
So this was one where I was running late to the draft. I had to call in my pick, and I told Robert, actually, I said, hey, either
Mr. Funko Fanatics.
Pick either Corey Kluber or Randy Johnson. I knew they were both powerhouse pitchers, and I needed someone good to really anchor in my bullpen. And he looked at them both, and he gave me Corey Kluber. He felt he was a better pick for it. And he turned out to be, I believe his first game he threw 20 strikeouts.
Unbelievable 20 strikeouts.
So, and I just played against the other Corey Kluber card itself, too. Ended up beating that Kluber.
I think there's 2 or 3 Klubers in this league. Maybe there's only 2. We have the 2017 version from last year where he had a Cy Young performance. He's a 6-7 inning pitcher. 1 through 9's a strikeout. 1 through 16's an out. And the game that he had played, where he had the 20 strikeouts against the Funko Fanatics, every roll was under 10 almost, and for 20 strikeouts, that's what basically has to happen. But he also can pitch 7 innings, which I think he pitched a complete game that day too.
He did pitch a complete game.
Incredible performance. I think Kluber was a great pick. I actually do prefer this Kluber over Randy Johnson. I think this Kluber is also better than 2014 Kluber, which is a 2 control that can pitch 8 innings, though that one could do 1 through 18s and out. I still find this Kluber to be better. Maybe we'll have to debate whether he's valuable or not, because he's 660 points versus the other one.
I still think they're both valid. I do like the control of a 6 versus a 2, though.
Yeah,
it
sure.
Definitely has a way to sway the control in your favor and put that onto his.
Which is 1 through 16s and out, which is great. Now,
So,
speaking of 6, you have another 6, Kurt Schilling. Everyone knows this guy from the 00 season that can pitch 8 innings at a 600 salary. So right off the bat, we got 1,260 points of your 5,500 in the 2 starting pitchers. But how is that going?
Well, they both came out strong. I had very low-scoring games against them. I believe Robert, at the time, the Funko Fanatics, only scored an altogether 4 or 5 runs for both games against Kluber and Schilling.
They both pitched complete games, and they both got the wins. You started off as 2-0 against the Funko Fanatics. And then we went on to the next game where we have Rick Ankiel and Clay Buchholz. And this is where you started to get your value in. You got Rick Ankiel from the 01 season, who pitched a great game against Invader Zimmer. And then Clay Buchholz, who I think still pitched a great-ass game. You can't help but Edgardo Alfonso 2-out, 2-run double two times in the game.
That ended up costing me the game.
Yeah, and that was all basically on the relievers. So tell me about your team then. Tell me your overall strategy. What were you looking at when you were drafting? Obviously, Kluber, you wanted to start off with a great pitcher, and then what happened after that?
So first thing is I wanted a pitcher, one, because I'm not too familiar with baseball. I don't know all the players. I don't know all the stats. I don't know all the cards. I know very few people. Kluber, being an Indians fan, obviously I know that person.
But you're good with card games.
I'm decent with card games. But the thing was I had to phone in a first pick. I didn't know anything else other than I knew I needed a good pitcher. Mm-hmm. So I went with, hey, can you guys pick me either Randy Johnson or Corey Kluber? And that turned out to be a great pick. So I knew I had a good starting pitcher from the get-go.
Yep.
Then when I was actually here and able to look at the cards, the next thing was, all right, how do I want to be defensive, high speed, and yet decent with the control?
Yeah, so a well-rounded defensive powerhouse with incredible speed. Get on second base, get a single and score, and get double plays and throw out every runner.
Yeah, I believe I have the highest, or tied for the highest infield and outfield and catcher, I believe.
Yes, so he has a 14 infield. You have a 9 outfield, which is stupid. There were a few cards that got printed in the custom sets that had incredibly high defensive outfield scoring. We have a Ender Incarnate as a 3 outfielder. We have
Coco Crisp,
the center field as 3, and then we have Jason Hayward, who's a great left fielder, as a 3. He's incredibly valuable as a +3 left field right fielder at only 70 points. Now, we could debate if he should be a left field or right field 3 or a 2. But he was printed as the 3, therefore he was available to everybody, and you got him.
Yes.
So your outfield is the highest possible outfield that we have in the card, which is a 9. You have the highest possible. Well, I guess you could have one more point technically on shortstop.
Yep.
Or second base.
No, it was second base.
You could have one more second baseman. But other than that, I mean, with the 00 A-Rod, the 00 Renny Velarde, the 00 John Orlud. We have the custom Nolan Arenado from 2017, where we have him as a third base +4. I mean, you're stacked. You're absolutely stacked in the outfield. Then you have Ivan Rodriguez as your catcher, who makes sure no one runs on you.
Yep.
And no one did run on you.
Nope.
So I see that was your overall strategy. So how is it working out? Is the strategy working like you wanted it to?
It actually is. So far, I can say from the Funko Fanatics, I know because of the high defensive numbers, not a lot of bases were stolen, not a lot of single pluses were really taken into account. You know, it wasn't, yes, I can advance them, but no, it's too powerful, so I won't go for it. With the Invader Zims, it was the same thing. There were a couple of them that it came out to be, nope, not going to risk it. And then in some of them where they did risk it, I was fortunate enough to actually get them out. So there were a couple tight double plays that I
saw lots of those. But with that, usually sometimes when you get this defensive speed strategy, you start to lose in your on base or your batting performance. We do have an 11 Andrew McCutchen as your DH and a 10 on base John Orlud. Do you feel like it's sacrificed it a bit, or do you feel like you're still pretty strong?
I feel like I'm still pretty strong because out of all the players that I have, I only have one that's a 6 control. Everything else on base.
Yeah.
Sorry. So everything else is an 8, a 9, a 10, and 11.
Yeah.
And the other thing that helps too is I only have 3 out of the 9 players that are lower than an A speed.
That's true too.
So, and I have a couple of them that are 21, 22, and a 22. So I mean, I didn't just get the defensive players. I tried to get the defensive players that were also fast as hell.
Yeah, and Avon, obviously being an A-speed catcher, can hit 17 through 20 as a home run. McCutchen, 19 through 20 as a home run. A-Rod, the 00 version, is 15 through 20 as a home run. And then Nolan is surprising.
17 through 20.
1 through 3 is an out on Nolan. And then anything above a 10 is double or higher. Incredible. He had a triple earlier in the game, which scored a run. Benson Zimmers, which was great. I think your starting rotation is great. Cliff Buchholz starts to drop away, but for 50 points, the value is so strong.
And he was one that was one of the last picks. In my last season that we played, I tried to go super heavy with the pitching, and I just couldn't score runs. I'd shut him down, have 1 or 2 runs in the game, but I couldn't score any more than them because my defense was better, but I didn't have anything to really, hit it out of the park.
Absolutely. So. Now I see you also have you have one pitcher in here that can give up a home run as your closer, but you only spent 30 points on him. You haven't used him yet, as far as I know.
He's probably not going to be used very much.
So you spent a lot less on your bullpen. You also 1 through 14 out, a 1 through 14 out, a 1 through 14 out, 1 through 16. So I was just talking to the Mighty Muskie Minotaurs about how I hate the 1 through 14 out. Has that been affecting you guys at all? It affected him, but I don't know if that affects everybody.
It hasn't really affected me much, just because with Kluber and Schilling, I haven't had to use my bullpen those first 2 games.
Yeah.
Rick Ankiel.
Yeah.
He pitched most of the game, and then I went to another reliever who was a 1 through 16 out.
Yeah, it worked out great.
I didn't have to go any farther than that. Clay Buchholz.
It's a good strategy.
He pitched for 6 innings, and then I went to another reliever who's a 5, and he goes through 1 through 14. There weren't really many 15s or 16s that killed me. It happened to be that just the control went to the batter, and they just took advantage of it.
That happens.
There's nothing I can do about that.
Now, do you see any weak spots in your team? Where do you think the weak spot is?
Weak spots in me and my poor rolling.
I feel like a lot of people say that.
And I mean,
especially Funko Fanatics.
Yes. Well, I feel very bad for Funko Fanatics against Corey Kluber. He was rolling a bunch of 1s that was statistically improbable, but somehow he still did it.
Great for Corey Kluber.
Yes. 20 strikeouts. I mean, even in a made-up game, that's still a ridiculously high number, and I don't think if anybody comes close, I'll be really surprised.
I agree.
But I mean, my bullpen's not exactly the strongest. I still need to be able to...
If you have to ever use them, that's the thing.
I still have to get control. In my last game against Invader Zimmers, I didn't have control very much against their pitcher. I squeaked by against his Corey Kluber in the first game. I got a couple of good hits, and it gave me the lead. But when it came down to it, in the second game, I ended up losing because I just didn't have control with my pitcher, and he took advantage of it.
Yeah. Now, in the overall league in general, do you see any things you like or dislike about the league? Did you change anything about the way our leagues run?
I don't know if I'd really change anything. I like the fact that this year we did you can have a bench, but you don't need a bench. I know that was something where in the last one we did, the last league, we had the requirement of having 2 people on the bench. So it was, I have to use those points for something else. With the ability to have it but not requirement, I was able to actually spend more money or more cap points on my picks. So I have a lot of high-value people, but I was able to do so because of something like that, because last year I didn't even touch my bench people. They didn't do anything. Either.
So no one did. And that was the reason we changed it, was because no one was touching them, and it was like wasted points on everybody's team. It was a fight for who can grab the most 10-point players, which was kind of not why we're playing this game. We're supposed to be playing it for a reason. So if you want the bench player, I want a speed A guy that can sub in later for my speed C guy. Obviously, you don't need that since your whole team is freaking A speed, which is great. So no, I think that's great. You're 3-1. You got 14 games to go. So hopefully you can finish 17-1 of a possible 18. That'd be great.
There's no way anybody's going to go undefeated.
And we don't know that.
There's no way. There is no way. If somebody goes undefeated, then they have to be so well stacked, and they have to have the perfect roles for every single time. You're going to lose. It's going to happen. Everyone's going to lose.
There's only one person still undefeated, and that's the Millennium Falcons, and then Raleigh Fingers hasn't played yet. So that's the only people that could be possibly get it. But, for the rest of the season, it's possible for you. You got it.
It would be nice, but, with Kluber and Schilling, potentially I can win those 2 games. Rick Ankiel and Clay Buchholz is a possibility, but I have to go with my bullpen. I think I'll have to utilize my bullpen more with those 2 than I will with Kluber and Schilling. But anything's up for grabs. The dice rolls any which way for anybody. So.
And with that, my bourbon is gone. Thank you for listening.